This week in 40K.
Hello, and welcome to Sleep Deprivation Theater. I'm Colin, and this is Billy, and between the two of us, we've had 8 hours of sleep.
Yes, my excuse is bad, but I'm happy about it, so that's what we shall say.
Billy stayed up late into the night grinding on things in Destiny 2 because I'm a bad friend who got him re-addicted to Destiny 2.
You're a good friend who got me re-addicted to Destiny 2. But yes,
is that true?
Is
that true?
Yeah. I genuinely enjoy the game, and I had a sensible conversation with my wife about my need in a very short time frame to absolutely make an irresponsible decision and play too much of this game due to mechanics in the game that don't matter. And I did, and I accomplished what I wanted to, and now I'm happy for it.
Excellent. And you need a little bit of happiness in your life because of your football team.
We had a successful year. And I will maintain to my grave that if Brock Purdy doesn't get hurt, at the very least, that's a competitive NFC Championship game, if not me celebrating us going to the Super Bowl.
Well, fair enough.
And Colin? The state of Colin?
Yeah. That's great.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Tech layoffs. I'm safe, but a lot of my friends are not.
Yeah.
It's just if you're one of the many people that's affected by that, we're really sorry. Yeah. That's a terrible thing to have to go through, especially when so many people are unemployed at the same time. So we are sympathetic to that. A lot of my friends have been caught by that, and that plus some family drama has just really weighed on me. Those two things.
I'm sorry.
But that's not why we're here.
We are neither grim nor dark here.
But we are neither grim nor dark.
Let me just jump on because my wife works for the same umbrella company as Colin. It was not your fault if you were let go. That was a freaking random ass set of decisions. So feel good about yourself. Chin up.
Oh, well, that's just Salesforce. Lots of people have laid people off. So
yeah. Anyway.
Anywho, I don't know why I thought that was helpful for me to say that, but that's all right. I often say things that aren't helpful. Okay, so here we are, and we're going to now kick it off, and we're going to talk about 40K for the next predetermined amount of time. Here we go.
Our top story.
I want to know about the top story, Billy. Tell me, please, about the top story.
Top story is that Ark of Omens is here, and it is a wild, wild world. Wild in that some guesses that people would have about results absolutely being borne out, and some things are a bit of a surprise. We'll get into specific events later. The one thing I want to say is if you just look at the amount and size of events this week, it sort of looks like you had to have either missed LVO or just been an absolute addict to go to one, because there weren't a ton of events and not too many particularly large ones. So we're getting glimpses and projections of what things are going to be. We've yet to see that, 500-600 people over 7 events really giving us the sort of information you would want. I'm sure the real data heads would be telling you about sample size now. I don't know enough to do that. So
it's a very small amount of data.
Yeah.
That's the important part.
Yeah. On the one hand, various flavors of Space Marines doing very well. On the other hand, Guard not being our oppressive overlords just yet. Not that they're doing poorly. There are certainly some results, but they're not, just dunking on people. I think there might be some similar stuff to, if you remember, there was a meta watch from GW a few months ago where they said one of the reasons Space Marines tend to have a lower overall win rate is it's everyone's first army. And so the player base of that army is affected by that. I think there might be some, Guard folks who play Guard come hell or high water and might not have optimized their list as opposed to pushing around their World War II tanks.
Well, and an important thing to note also is that the internet doesn't decide what's good and what's not. Right? Like, we also could be wrong about the absolute overpowerness of Guard.
Stranger things have happened.
We're not wrong, but we could be.
And that approach to life is the right approach. I could be wrong. I'm confident in where I am, but I could be wrong. And because the best way to be right is to admit when you're wrong and change to what the truth is.
Yeah. I've done everything I can to be right, but I may not have been successful.
And I will continue to do so in an iterative process. So yeah, we'll talk about specific events as they come, but we are absolutely in Ark now. All the events were that. It's interesting that apparently Battlescribe, well, just because the new detachment is called the Ark of Omens detachment, it's very clear that that's where we are because it shows up at the top of everyone's list. So yeah, enjoy the much more freeform version of it. And especially if you're like a brewer in terms of armies who like to play, enjoy this time because this is, I personally think Ark is going to be one of the more freeform versions of 40K where you can try a bunch of different things and it'll mostly work. But especially now at the start of the season when no one really has honed in on, their super optimized lists, now is the time to try what you enjoy.
Did you say at the beginning of that, if you're a grower?
Brewer.
Oh,
yeah.
I was thinking that we were now separating people into growers and showers for 40K. And I guess grower and shower is the same. Okay.
I'm going to just let that pitch go right by.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you don't like happiness.
I love happiness.
No, clearly not.
I see nothing good coming from that conversation.
Well, then you haven't known me long enough. Okay. Are we good with our top story?
I believe that is good for the top story.
Here's what I'll say about Ark of Omens. I agree with Billy. It's a new time, lots of new stuff to do. As we look through the lists, you'll hear some stuff that I could have easily predicted, some stuff I couldn't have. But it's also let me say that sentence differently. It is very normal after LVO to have a lull in events. Extremely normal. Nobody wants to go to LVO, come home, and immediately leave again to go to a 200-person tournament. That's not, maybe nobody's not the fair term there. Lots of people would not want to do that. So for a little while here, I think we're going to trickle in some smaller events and start seeing some data. But I'm not sure if there's anything big before Adepticon. Probably something in the UK because, they like every 7 minutes, they like to have a 200-person tournament. So we'll start seeing the data more as we continue on. But for now, it sure is fun to see what lists we have. So now, what's new? What's new? What's new?
What's new?
Billy, what's new?
Couple of things. GW still giving us new information even after LVO. First up, I want to touch on there was a MetaWatch video that came out post LVO, and some of them I have defended some of these MetaWatch videos in the past as a good way to get insight into the head of the design studio and the people making decisions about your game. I'm not sure this one was one of those. This was much more retrospective, patting themselves on the back for a diverse metagame at LVO. Your mileage may vary on the truth of that statement, and very little about the design philosophy of Ark or really anything deep and insightful about it. Broadly, they talked about how they like to shake things up. They shook things up. So that was the MetaWatch video. This one's a skippable one. Other big thing that happened is World Eaters. They got their full preview and they're all up on pre-order. There's some interesting stuff in there for sure. For those who haven't seen spoilers or read anything, basically they have these things called blood tithe points. Anytime any unit dies, you get a point. At the end of any phase, you can cash in those points for one type of buff that lasts for the rest of the game. There are some very good and powerful things in there. The main critique that seems to exist is that the named Juggernaut Lord has basically the ability to pregame move a bunch of things, And as a result of that, an army that basically only punches, that's incredibly powerful. But they have no way to get multiple warlord traits. So the only way for him to get those pregame moves is for him to be a warlord, which means you can't really take Angron. And Angron's awesome. Everyone would want to take Angron. So Chaos can't have nice things. And this might be an example of that. They will punch you dead, though, if they touch you.
Yeah, I was in a chat with two friends who are both top-end 40K players, and one was trying to explain world eaters.
Mm-hmm.
Word bearers is a different group of people. They're bearing the word.
Mm-hmm.
These people are eating the world. It's a very different situation.
Totally.
So these people who are eating the world, he was explaining that, they do this incredible amount of damage. They can get to your turn one, blah, 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 blah. And then the other friend comes in and goes, I don't think it's actually as bad as you think it is. That is 40K in a nutshell.
That's true.
That's the internet on every codex in a nutshell. So I think that it's fascinating that we have yet another book coming out, making me wonder, are all these rumors about 10th edition true?
I mean, given the size of this book and the relatively limited set of options, this feels closer to like what they've done with Votan and what they did with Sisters back at the end of 8th leading into 9th, of just this smaller thing that and in this case folds neatly into a larger super faction. It's possible there's no 10th, but the amount of smoke for that one, I'm perfectly happy to start a rumor that there's not going to be 10th, but that one feels like swinging for the fences.
Okay. All right. Well, now we have a new segment on the show.
Yes.
Every week. So let me take this a different way. Our Discord, our amazing and wonderful community that you can join by either subscribing to us on YouTube at Best in Tabletop or on Patreon at Best in Tabletop. We have a chat in our Discord, fantastic community, tons of people, many, many chats. One of my favorites is the pet channel, where people just drop in their pets. We decided that every week we're going to share one of those pets with you. And it's going to be called the Pet of the Week. If you're watching the audio only version of this show, you should be aware the cute animals just went by.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was at, what was the timestamp on that? That was at about 13 minutes. Go to our video, scroll to 15 minutes, watch that. You will be enchanted.
There you go.
1332.
That was just that was a second time for prosperity.
Yeah.
That's what that was. Okay. The first winner of Pet of the Week is a fantastically good boy, and here, or maybe girl, I don't actually know. And here we go. So, what is it? Is it tiny? Billy's
no, I'm just looking to see if it's a boy or a girl, because that area is visible, but not really.
It looks like a girl to me.
It does. Yes.
There appear to be nipples. I guess boys have nipples as well, but yeah, never mind. Let's move on.
I got nipples, fucker. Can you milk me?
Yeah. So many of you are on the audio only version of the show. And so for your benefit, Billy and I are now going to describe the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It is a dog.
Yes.
I'm off to a good start. It is a brown dog with white feet. What else you got, Billy?
It's in the hound family. It's got a gorgeous coat. Not slobbery at all. And it has a sort of, pleased with itself pose. For those of you who enjoy your larger SAT words, an insouciant pose, one might almost say. Staring into the camera as if asking the owner of said dog, not the owner, the parent, the proud parent of said dog, why are you subjecting me to this embarrassing state? I am comfortable and should be loved and petted and given treats. And that is correct. The ears are somewhat floopy and over.
Yeah. I'm listening to you because I'm confident you're going to give me food. That's
Yeah.
that's the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah.
As a note, there does appear to be a pair of pants on the floor behind the dog.
I'm not gonna shame anyone's house because there's
I live with 3
taken.
children. I'm not shaming anybody.
Yeah.
I just think that pants are worth pointing out. I don't know
There
why.
are. But yes, this is a good, probably girl, and deserving of the honor of the first pet of the week.
Yeah, and I was going to say this dog's name is Bella, but actually the daughter of the person whose dog this belongs to is actually named Bella. So I know this dog's name isn't Bella.
Okay.
Yeah, because I just by logicking out a little bit there of how the world works. That's what's up. Okay, so there's our first winner of Pet of the Week. This will go out on our socials, so you can see the doggo yourself. If you'd like to see us on social, under Instagram, we are bit40k. BIT40K on Instagram. That's probably the easiest way to see the pet of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to let Doggo go away now.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Doggo. Doggo went away. Okay. Segment done. Moving on.
What's winning?
Chris says that we should have commented on the sassy pose of that was a sassy pose.
I said it was an insouciant pose. Insouciant and sassy are in the same family of overall, affect.
All right.
Yeah.
Billy's dropping the big words this morning.
I'm a very weird person in that my brain defaults to the long multisyllabic words, and I actually tend to have to pull it back and use smaller ones. And so when I'm sleep deprived, my vocabulary gets weird.
At my last work, this is just a fun little story I'll tell. At my last work, I hired a guy to do demonstrations of our software, and I hired someone who had an equal part background of stand-up comedy, documentary creation, and software sales.
That's a good skill set.
Yeah, right. And so I was teaching him to do demonstrations, and he kept doing them for me, and I kept listening to when he would do them for customers. And he was so flipping bright that he couldn't help himself but using big words. And our customers were not the most sophisticated people that exist in a lot of ways. And so I had to keep having to go into his office, and we kept on the whiteboard a list of words that he wasn't allowed to use in a presentation. And my favorite was precipitously, which is a good word, but it's not a word that people know.
That's sort of sad, but I could see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. So we're going to talk about some Ark events now. And I'm going to mute for just a moment and take care of my nose. So Billy's gonna entertain you all for a moment.
Okay. So again, just going to reiterate that the largest event that we had this week was 60 players. Then there was a 40, 37, 36, 20, and we're even going to talk about an 18-player tournament because that's sort of the state of affairs this week. Treat this as that's interesting, as opposed to anything to make definitive decisions about. For those of you on the audio version, I believe I have to riff for about 2 or 3 more seconds.
No, I'm here.
Now I'm done.
Yeah. Okay. Just remember that the difference between a cow and a bean is a bean can begin an adventure.
Between a cow and a bean?
Yeah. We're just going to move on.
Okay.
So in Warwick, Rhode Island, which I read as London this morning. Oh, no, that's the next tournament. Okay. For a minute there, I thought that I had really screwed up my breath. Sleep deprivation theater. Okay. So there was a tournament called Captain Con, which I love his work. However, I hope he gets promoted to General Con at some point.
Major.
What's that?
There's major and colonel between captain and general.
Oh man, Colonel Con is the worst name. Okay, so Warwick, Rhode Island, which is weird because nobody actually lives in Rhode Island, so all these people must have driven in.
Rhode Island.
What's that?
Just everyone in Rhode Island came to this event.
Yeah, right. All 60 of them. 5
Really?
rounds. And again, this is Ark of Omens, and I don't care at week 2, sort of, what win percentages are. There's nowhere near enough data. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the top 5 lists and what we observe. So the top list is Yunari, which is wildly surprising for me because I thought that the 5+ nerf to Harlequin troops was going to be too much for Yunari to handle. That was my presumption. But Daniel Woolmouth, he said, "No, Colin, you're a fool." He didn't say that. We don't know each other. And he made a Yunari list. And so it's got the Incarn as you'd expect. Now, he does have the Farseer using the Mortal Wound spam, which I think is really interesting because that does cost 2 CP. So I just think that that's super interesting. This actually says he's starting with 0 CP. I don't think that's true. Oh, at the bottom it says he's starting with 1 CP. Not being able to Phantasm is shocking. Then he has a Shadow Seer, 2x5 Rangers. He's got 2x10 troops with the weapons that you'd expect. Oh, no. Excuse me. He's in each 10-man unit, he's got 5 dudes that have no fancy weapon. Just the million of strength 3 attacks. Or is it strength 4? I can't remember. Billy, what is it?
Strength 4.
Okay. Next up, we have his elites.
No, excuse me, strength 3. Strength 3.
Okay. His elites have Striking Scorpions, 2 units of Banshees with the things you'd expect, and Warlock Skyrunner that has Conceal Reveal. Then he's got a unit of 5 Wind Riders and with Shuriken Cannon, a unit of 3 Wind Riders with Catapults, then a unit of 3 Shining Spears with the Mortal Wound spam, a unit of Shroud Runners, a Warwalker, and 1 unit of 1 D-Cannon. This is fascinating to me. Looking at this list, it's almost exclusively close combat, and then it has fast-moving bikes that can take the table. The first Eldar list I made when I saw Ark of Omens was all bikes. Tons of Shroud Runners, tons of Wind Riders, 6 fast attacks. Because my thought is there's an absolute play for Eldar to just simply spam undercosted bike units that are just hard enough to kill and just fast enough and hit just hard enough that you might be able to box in many of these shooting armies that are so popular. Guard, as an example, and I don't know that this will work. This is just the thought I had. Guard, for example, doesn't want to be shot by 1 million Wind Rider shots and then have their tanks pinned into their deployment zone. This is an example. So I don't know, but I would imagine that that's what the flying things are doing here. They're moving around the table. They're skirmishing. Maybe they're move blocking. And then he's still rocking the troops that just beat the crap out of everything. So, Billy, you've played a lot of Yunari as well. What do you think?
I think that I agree with all of those points and all of those starting points for what to do with Eldar going forward. My largest concern with Eldar is while the Ark of Omens detachments lets you take more of the things that you want, the points changes might not let you take enough of the things that you want compared to what I would generally expect to be seeing at the top tables. This puts the lie to that. I would also guess that Daniel might have known a little bit about what the terrain was going to be at this event, because that army really can't let anyone see it unless it wants to be seen.
Yep.
And I'm hearing a pig examining things in the next room, and that's not something that can go unattended. So I'll be back in a moment.
All right. So next up, second place. In second place, we have Alex Ing, and he brought sisters. To which I say, really? That's what I say. Oh, those are some serious pig noises we're getting, guys. This is fantastic. I don't know what's happening in the other room, but it sounds like it's a heck of a thing. Okay, so very surprised to see sisters get second here. I did not think that sisters were going to be particular. Now, obviously, the general matters. Alex might be amazing. I don't know Alex. So what we have here is a Bloody Rose, and we've got Repentia Superior, Celestine Vol. Okay. And then we've got 1 unit of Sacrosanct, a unit of 2 Crusaders, which appear to be 22 points for the 2 of them. That's amazing. That's such a good unit. Anytime your army can take a really inexpensive unit that can stand on objectives or screen, do it. A great example of that is Space Wolves have Cyber Wolves, where you can take just one. It looks like you can take 2 Crusaders and Sisters for 22 points, which is an amazing deal. Dogmata, then 8, 8, and 7 of Repentia, followed by 8, 8, and 5 of Zephyrum, followed by 3 5-man multi-multi units, and then a Rhino and a Battle Sanctum. Really interesting. This is a fairly pre-arc meta list. It doesn't look like a lot changed, other than he didn't take any of the normal Battle Sisters.
Yeah.
And that's really, really interesting to me. So congratulations, Alex, on second place.
You know, one thing that these two armies made me think of is there might just be hobby lag in people getting into their full arc lists, because both of those sound mostly like things 70-80% of that army they already had painted up, and then they just adapted the last 20-30%. That might be a thing for the next couple of weeks.
And next up is the orcs that we're going to hear about all the time. So this is Tyler Russo, and Tyler brought Goffs. He has Boss Zegstruck, who's great. He has Gazgul, which some lists aren't actually taking now. He's 300 points. He smashes super well. The thing about him is he doesn't actually have that many attacks, so you can just tarp hit him, which is really bad for a 300-point character model. That's what I've done to him in the past, is I've just tarp hitted him. And last time I played against Gaz, I think was with Sisters of Battle, and I just flooded Gaz with Sisters and was like, there we go, Gaz is dealt with for a little while.
Yeah.
But he's still great. 2 units of 10 Beast Snega Boys. I promise you that they're inside of kill rigs. 3x10 Gretchen, a unit of Commandos, a big unit of Knobs. I guess it might be in a kill rig instead. 2x3 Squig Boys, 10, 5, and 5 of additional Storm Boys, because Storm Boys are crazy amazing at 12 points a model. 2 kill rigs and a truck. This is an incredibly standard orc list. And it's great. I love all the Storm Boys. I love the Commandos. This list basically comes flying at you. Orcs have relatively good secondaries, so you have to aggressively engage with this army, or it will just outscore a lot of people. So excited to see Goff's doing well. Super exciting there. By the way, I saw that Seth Oster from Signals from the Frontline is going to try for Best in General Orcs this year, and is going to document that on his YouTube channel.
Oh, fun.
Which he's been a great supporter of Charity Hammer and Best in Tabletop, so I just thought I would call that out. Seth's a great guy, and I'm sure that's going to be a wonderful YouTube series. You can find it on YouTube, wherever you get your YouTubes. Okay.
Do you know the URL for that website?
I don't.
Okay. What's the number for 911?
I think the new series is called Best War Boss in Faction.
I was making a joke about YouTube, and what's the URL for YouTube?
Oh, okay. Funny.
Yeah.
Next up is Nicholas Rose, who I've not seen at a tournament in a long time. For those that don't know Nick Rose, he's a long-time big name heavy hitter in 40K. The ATC I went to, his team won. Yeah, very accomplished player. He loves playing Tyranids and Genestealer Cult, and he often has a offbeat take. So I was very excited to see this. Sadly, his take was not offbeat in this particular case. But it is a really good GSC list, and our prediction was that GSC would do extremely well in ARC, and this is the start of that. So we're going to talk about GSC a lot. It helps that I know a lot about GSC. So this is all of them are going to pretty much be a custom creed, except this one, which is Pauper Princess.
Okay. So
he's got a Nexus, an Acolyte, Icon Ward. The Icon Ward brings people back. He enables the ability to bring people back. Jackal Office helps your bikes hit better, and also as a sniper rifle. Magus and Primus. Primus is there to give out rerolls. Magus has psychic powers. Then he's got, now this is really interesting. He's got three 3 5-mans of acolytes that
Okay.
each have 1 heavy rock saw on the leader, and 2 hand flamers. Actually, it looks like 4 hand flamers. Really interesting. And then he has some units. Oh no, they're all like that. Some of them don't have hand flamers. So he's got a bunch of these small acolyte units that, acolyte units, they can deep strike for free. They're obsec. They have enough punch that if you get near them, they can charge and kill you. Really solid. Then, after all of that, he's got 1 big unit with heavy rock drills. Then he's got another unit of hybrids. So, like acolytes wise, he's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 units of acolytes. Then he's got 4 units of neophytes. So I guess you could take as many troops as you want now, I guess is what the deal is. Is that what's up?
I thought it capped at 9, but
well, he's under 9.
Oh, okay. Then yeah.
Then he's got 4 big ol' units of neos. Big units of neos tend to have seismic cannons, and I like to take the flamers in the unit, but he didn't do that here. So he just has 4 seismic cannons and 16 shotguns in each of the units. These free deep strike. When they come in, they're going to shoot you 1,000,000 times. If he's able to put something behind you for crossfire, then you're going to end up with +1 to wound on all these shotguns, which is incredibly good. They can reroll ones to hit and wound from the Primus. And the other thing about the Neos that's so interesting is that there's a lot of really good unit upgrades you can give them. You can say, hey, when you come in, you're not going to take the penalty for shooting a heavy weapon. Or, hey, when you come in, treat the thing you're shooting as already being exposed. So there's a lot of really neat tech there on the Neo units. Finally, he has 2 units of 10 bikes. The bikes are very fast, take up great board. They're just durable enough. And then in this army, he can bring them back to life. There you have it. Nick Rose's 4-in-1 Genestealer Occult list. Our final list from this event is the wonderful and probably talented Casey Glynn. I don't know Casey, so Casey might not be wonderful. And they took Iron Hands, which I would have pegged as a winner of an event this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Hands real good right now. So Primaris Lieutenant, Primaris Tech Marine, no Chapter Master. Don't need him, I guess. Two units of infiltrators with the Helix gauntlets. Hey, for those that don't know, Helix gauntlets are free now. So what that means is that every time you hurt an infiltrator unit in combat or shooting, the first wound that they fail as an armor save, they ignore. I've been playing with infiltrators. I think every Marine list is going to have 2x5 or 3x5 standard. I don't think you can put less in because Alpha is so strong right now in the meta, especially things like guards, Carsicans. A lot of people are taking drop pods because they don't know any better. So really, really important that you have infiltrators. You're going to need to hold up the board. And also, Raven Wing is going to be popular, and you do not want them going 37 inches before your first turn. Redemptor Dreadnought, not too surprising with the Macroplasma. Relic Contemptor, I was surprised by because I don't know why you'd spend all the CP on it. But he did make it a character. So it's a twin Volkite Contemptor that you can't shoot at. So that's cool. Then
it does obscene damage too.
Yeah. Then a unit of 5 scouts. Both Billy and I tried what this guy's doing here, which is a storm with scouts inside of it. It's really interesting because the storm is an incredibly underpriced vehicle. Mm-hmm. For 50 points, it's pretty durable. It's very fast, but you can't take it without scouts because it can't start on the table without people inside of it. So if you put scouts inside of it, first of all, his scout unit has a sniper rifle, a thunder hammer, a missile, and a missile launcher, and 3 sniper rifles. Mm-hmm. Like your scout unit can just be filled with gear. And so the storm actually lets, on its data sheet, lets scouts get in after movement. And so they get to get out and then move. They can't charge, but they can still shoot. So basically what this does is it lets you catapult a 5-man unit to where you need it on the field. I think it's neat. When I played with it, I didn't think it was worth having in the list. But you've played with it as well, right, Billy?
Same sort of a take across the board, both of why I wanted it in the list and then just found it kind of underwhelming. It is an absolute ton of stuff for 110 points, but at 1 wound with a base 4 save, boy, do those scouts die fast. And you can get a lot of other similar utility in other slots. I'm very open that I'm wrong on moving away from it, but I think you'll see a lot of people try it and then realize there are better tools available.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, so he's got those scouts in that storm. Then 2 Landspeeder Tornadoes. Hey, everybody, Colin alert. If you're a Space Marine player, you should be playing with these. They are 70 points for T6, 6 wounds with a 3-up save. I think that's right. Maybe they're T5. I think they're T6, 6 wounds with a 3-up save.
I believe so.
And they have an assault cannon and a multi-melta for 70 points. Hey, they move 16. That's unreasonable for 70 points. So take a bunch of them. They're going to be a little bit hard to hide. They're going to die because they don't have an invul. Doesn't matter. They're 70 points apiece. They are better attack bikes. Yeah. They fly around. They hold objectives. And that is an incredible amount of shooting for a 70-point unit. Assault cannons in particular are going to be very big right now because of guard.
Just the volume of shots to kill the dudes?
Yeah, like a lot of Marine lists are taking tons of heavy weapons, and I think that's fine. But I think that like a lot of guard lists are going to have 40 to 60 dudes standing on objectives, and you're going to need to kill them quickly. Okay. Then he's got 2 units of 5 Devastators. Each of them has a Kami Melta, 2 Grav Cannons, and 2 Multi-Meltas. I think that's neat. He does have a drop pod that all 10 of those guys can go in. I personally don't like drop pods because anyone who's an experienced close combat player is going to punish you for having one. If you put a drop pod down in front of my army, I will basically charge and touch it with my entire army. I'll just do it. I don't care. Mm-hmm. And then you, on your shooting phase, Mr. Iron Hands player, you will not get to shoot at me. Like it's a thing. So if you're going to use a drop pod, make sure that you're positioning it super well. I would say you need a close combat thing to charge in and clear it off if that happens. I'm just not a drop pod fan, but obviously this person has done well with Iron Hands and I have not. So your mileage may vary. So those 2 dev units, then a unit of Eradicators with heavy melter rifles. I think they're really interesting because they're durable and they shoot reasonably far. And so you can kind of have these Marines that are annoying to kill. That's just my thought. Then he's got 2 Gladiator Reapers. Get really used to these. These tanks are undercosted. Then a Thunderfire Cannon, which I'm extremely surprised to see. And then the Drop Pod and Landspeeder Storm we already talked about. So really neat Iron Hands list. I talked about why I think drop pods aren't very good, but the rest of this is all shooty Iron Hands. I believe you're also going to see a bunch of the Thunder Strike Landspeeder because it is a BS2 gun platform that is also undercosted. And I think you'll see that in Iron Hands quite a bit.
Storm Speeder, not Land Speeder. The new Primaris Speeder. They're different.
Yeah, the Thunderstruck Storm Speeder. Is that what it's called?
Storm Speeder Thunderstrike.
Oh, I had the names wrong. Okay,
yeah.
Whatever.
Also, just really quickly, they're interested that he took the Reaper Gladiator, the one with the crazy amounts of shots. I had seen more people go for the one big tank destroying gun, but I guess he wanted to just.
I don't think he needs that with the Plasma Incinerator and the Multi-Meltas. Like, I just don't.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't
know.
It's the first time I'd seen a Reaper in a list because they're also a little bit more expensive.
Okay. And then in England, they didn't want to be. They didn't want to not have a weekend without a GT. That wouldn't do at all. So they had a 40-player event called Cross Swords 40K. It was 5 rounds with 40 players, and it was won by an unknown player. I don't know who this guy is. Mana Kema, I think is his name. I'm joking. It's Manny Chima. He wins a gazillion things a year. Manny actually brought Ravenwing. Well, Dark Angels, actually. And I made a joke. I'm putting together a Ravenwing army. I've played, I don't know, 7 or 8 games with it. And I was saying that I woke up the other morning and on Facebook, I saw Manny talking about playing Ravenwing. And if you ever want to know that the army you're building has broken math, it's a really, really good sign if you walk up to a Facebook post that Manny's preparing it.
Yeah.
But this is quite different than what I've been playing.
Okay.
So he's got 2 Talon Masters, and one has Rites of War, one has Arbiter's Gaze. I'm doing the same thing. Rites of War gives an aura on a Talon Master of OBSEC. That's a really big deal because Talon Masters shoot incredibly hard, and they're a character, so they can just be, they can be blocked. Arbiter's Gaze lets that Talon Master hit on 2s no matter what, including in Overwatch, which is funny. Then Samael. Hey, everybody. Samael's not at a land speeder anymore. Don't let people use their BS kit bash. He's only on a bike. I strongly suggest a Custodes bike with a Space Marine on it seems to be about the right size because his bike is probably pretty big if you look at the original model, but it's resin, so who wants it? And then the other thing that's interesting for him is there's a Horus Heresy jet bike coming out that's amazing. That I would use if I could wait long enough. 1 unit of Incursors. They have a Haywire Mine instead of a Helix Gauntlet, which is interesting. Then a Decisive Tactician Apothecary. 2 units of 10 Terminators, all with a bunch of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Thunderhammer Storm Shield, 6 Thunderhammer Storm Shield, 2 that are Stormbolter and Power Fist, and 2 that are Stormbolter Cyclone Missile Launcher in each unit. This is interesting. I like that the Terminator units have a free deny in the current game because, Dark Angels don't have room to take a Psyker. These Terminators are, of course, durable. They're neat. They are difficult to move. They stand on objectives. They shoot at you. They come towards you. They get ready to punch you. Samael can, I think, give them full rerolls. I don't think it has to be Ravenwing that he hands it out to. And then he's got a unit of 5 Black Knights with Corvus Hammers. I'm running 20 of those just to give you an idea of how different our lists are. Then a Ravenwing Champion, which I would guess is a dude on a bike. I'll be investigating him and finding out why Manny thinks he's so great. That could be tech I don't know about. Then 3 of the land speeders I told you to buy, the Tornadoes. He's got 3 of them. You should buy them. No attack bikes here, which is surprising. I think Ravenwing attack bikes are incredible. Being able to go 17 on a platform like that for 50 points and then be able to shoot people is just great. So then after that, we have 3 Land Speeder Vengeances. I've been playing with these. They are incredibly shooting for 100 points. I personally think that they're a little bit difficult to hide. I think that they're a little bit difficult to keep alive. So I've moved to 2 of them instead of 3 of them, but they're obviously great. So there is Manny's Dark Angels and Ravenwing list. I have been a Dark Angels player since 1994. So I certainly have knowledge there. Okay, so that's Manny from Glasshammer. Good job, Manny. Way to win your first event of the year. Next up is Simon Corder. And I know I'm taking longer than I normally do. We don't have that many events, and there's lots to talk about here. Besides, what fun would the show be if I didn't give Billy only a few minutes to talk about his content?
And Billy has a hard out at 8, so just plan for that.
Ooh, sounds dirty.
Yes.
Second place. I can't find the person's name.
Simon Porter, you just said.
Yes, Simon Corder of the Massachusetts Quarters. I don't know. Okay, so he had, or they, had Bjorn. Yes. Oh, sorry, Space Wolves, which is exciting to both Billy and I. I own Space Wolves as well, and so does Billy, it sounds like. So Bjorn the Fell-Handed, then a captain on bike with just a lot of words after him. Resolve of the Bear, the Pelt of Beowulf, the Thunderhammer. I don't know what those things do, Billy, but I would imagine that that's a captain on a bike that beats the crap out of people.
It's hard. That's the hard to kill. It's slightly harder to kill.
Okay. Then Primaris Lieutenant, and then a Tech Marine, 2 units of Infiltrators. Hey, what'd I say? Murder Fang, Primaris Ancient, Venerable Dreadnought. One of them has a Hellfrost Cannon. One of them has a Axe and Shield, which, oh man. Anytime you play with close combat dreadnoughts, Colin gets excited. Then 2 units of 5 Wolfen, which I know is something that Billy thinks there's a lot of reason to take.
Yes.
2 Wolfen Dreadnoughts, which is Axe and Shield and Heavy Flamer. So cool. 2x1 Cyberwolves. What did Colin say? Those
Mhm.
are amazing. For 15 points, you can hold an objective. You can stand on your home objective. You can run really fast and move block tanks by standing between two buildings. You can stand in the corner of the table and make sure no one deep strikes behind you. Incredible utility for 15 points.
Yep.
And then both Billy and I are all in on Long Fangs.
Yeah.
These Long Fang units did a thing I didn't know you could do, Billy.
Mm.
These are 7-man units because it turns out that you can take 5 guys with las cannons in the unit, which I didn't know.
I think you can take 8 or 9 guys with las cannons in the unit.
Wow. Okay. So
You
the
can't
first
combat
unit,
squad it, though.
the first unit has 5 las cannons, and then the leader has a melta-gun. And then the Terminator guy, he gets to bring a Cyclone missile launcher.
And a
I
storm
love
shield.
this.
Don't forget
And
the storm shield.
Yeah. He gets to bring Cyclone missile launcher, Stormbolt, or Storm Shield.
Yeah.
So cool. So basically what you do is you put that guy in terrain and you say, hey, if you want to shoot my Long Fangs, you have to go through a 3-wound dude with a 0-up, 4-up.
Yep.
That's what you have to do. And that's not impossible, right? But that is a very good way to start off a unit that's next guy is going to be a 3-up in cover.
Yeah.
So I think this is the only way that I would play Devastators. By the way, he's got 1 unit of las cannons like this, and then he's got 1 unit that doesn't have the Terminator that has plasma cannons. I don't know why the difference there. Right. He doesn't have reroll 1s for those plasma cannons, does he?
He has
probably
the
captain on bike, yeah.
And I think Bjorn might also give.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think so. Let me look.
Yeah, so Long Fangs are the only way I would run Dev Marines because Dev Marines are great, but las cannons in particular, you're going to miss with on a turn, and you could just whiff. So one and done is a terrible way to run Devastator Marines. You need a way to keep them alive. I don't personally think that putting 300 points of Devastator Marines into a drop pod means that they're justified, right? That's just even more points to bring them out, have them hit something, and then potentially die. Long Fangs, because they get the Terminator, I feel very strongly differently on. Okay. Next up, we have Drukhari, of all things. And this is, I'm sorry I'm making snorting noises. I'm having terrible allergies this morning. I'm having a really hard time with it.
No, you're fine.
And I'm not to the audience, I think. George
Having
McCullough.
listened to you, Colin, for many, many years, this is middle of the road Colin noises.
Okay. George McCullough brought Drukhari and went 4-1 with them with a very high score. I was not expecting some Drukhari this morning. Very excited about it. He's got a Blackheart detachment. It's got a big unit. It's got a court because you'd expect it to. Archon Homunculus Succulus.
That would be fun.
Yeah. A big unit of 10 upgraded racks, a unit of 5 upgraded witches, a unit of 5 warriors, another unit of 5 witches, another unit of 5 witches, 3x5 incubi, 2x3 reavers, 2x3 chronoses, 3 raiders, and a Tantalus. Guys, I got nothing.
Tantalus.
Yeah, this is cool. These are all things I will... Excuse me, sorry. These are all things I want to play with. These are all things I own. I don't know if this is good. I would love to play this. Obviously, it's good enough to do really well with it, but he also could be a better player than everybody else. It's hard to say with this data set, but good job on Drukhari. I don't know. I mean, this is fast. It hits hard. It's MSU, so it takes up the table. They still have Hunt the Prey, which is really good. So there you have it. Next up, we have Jonathan Sumberfield. By the way, Jonathan and George are both from Bugle Bat Reps. I don't know Bugle Bat Reps, but I'm happy to give them a shout out. Next up, we have the Salamanders, which is the last list I'll talk about, giving Billy 8 minutes. This has got a bunch of Salamanders in it, and I don't know Salamanders well, so we'll just go with Adrax, Brayarth, and a Librarian, 2x5 infiltrators, 3 units of aggressors, 5 aggressors each. Aggressors are wildly undercosted and amazing. Primaris Apothecary, 1 unit of 3 ATVs, which is exciting to see. 2 units of Land Speeder Tornadoes, again, and 2 units of 3 Eliminators, and a unit of 6 Eradicators. Fantastic Salamanders list. Excited to see Salamanders doing well. Off to Billy with 7 minutes to spare.
All right. We have the Bastion Games Ulster Warlords 2.0 in Northern Ireland. 37 players, 5 rounds. Some weirdness with the placings due to WTC scoring. Won by Mike McConkey with Word Bearers. Actually, this army could have just been pulled from last season. 10 Terminators, 2 units of 5 Possessed, normal sets of characters, and then a Zinch detachment with a Demon Prince, Blues, 5 and 3 Flamers. Mike likes his army. Mike wanted to run basically the same thing, is what I am guessing. Second place, Richard Moore with Gene Stealer Cult. Again, like this is a list that I've talked about before. 80 neophytes, bunch of acolytes, 30 bikes, some other various characters sprinkled in and out. That's that list. Curious if it's going to be different going forward, but that's what it was then.
I'm going to hold the board. I'm going to shoot the crap out of you. I'm going to deep strike and score all of the points.
Yeah.
And I'm going to shoot you hard with my fragile army.
And, yeah, and then I'm going to die on turn 4, but I will have scored the points already.
Yes. Exactly.
David Kane, third place with Red Scorpion Ultramarines. Makes me wonder if they were actually red or blue, both. David made some interesting choices. Repulsor Executioner, regular Repulsor, Lancer. Lancer, I think you'll see a lot of the various repulsors. Cool. Everyone has a place where those things touch them badly at the end of 8th, and interesting to see him back. 2 Invictors, 10 Infiltrators, 5 Incursors, Intercessors, Aggressors. Sort of feels like Ultra Memesy, but with a few more tanks. And then just because there was a guard player in 11th place, but who went 4-0-1, and it was basically all foot dudes. No tanks, no sentinels. But that was Ciaran Carroll. Next event, the Torneo de Guild Leon in Leon, Mexico. 36 players, 5 rounds. I want to preface this. All of these players had middle names, multiple middle names in many cases. I did not write them down because I was lazy. So apologies for your middle names. First place was Xavier Barrera with Iron Hands, 5x5 Devastators in a drop pod. A lot of multi-meltas in there with some grav cannons.
I'm sorry, 5x5 Devastators would be 25 Devastators, which would not be
5/5. 2 units of 5.
Okay.
There you go. 3 Eradicators, 3 of the land speeders we've been talking about, 2 units of 5 Van Vets, because I think you need some sort of punch, and I assume he probably had those miniatures anyway. 5 Stern Guard. I own Stern Guard because I think they're great kit bashing things. They get all their stuff for free as well now too. Just something to check out. 2 Redemptors, fully loaded up Volcon, 5 Infiltrators, Tech Marine Lieutenant. All of the bullets with a decent amount of punch. Don't sleep on the punch that Iron Hands can do.
Yep.
Next, you got Gustavo Martinez with Chaos Knights. Gustavo brought 13 doggies.
It's my dog, Gustavo.
And Gustavo brought dogs. So there you go. Third place was Luis Franco, Imperial Knights. This was House Tyrannus. Had 2 Crusaders, 4 Helverins, 3 Warglaves. Relatively similarly in fourth place, Eduardo Della Torre, Imperial Knights. This was a Free Blade, Errant Crusader, 5 Warglaves, 2 Helverins. If I had to guess, I would think that the people going to this event understood the terrain that they were playing on and wanted to shoot. Jose Casillas came in 5th with Chaos Demons. This was actually much more of a Zinch list than Chaos Demons. It had a 2,000 Suns detachments, one of which had Magnus in it. 10 Terminators, and then a Demons set that had Fate Skimmer, Blues, 3 Screamers, and 5 Flamers. 2 more events. I got 2 minutes. Iron Man, Rotterdam Rumble, Rotterdam, Netherlands, 20 players, 5 rounds, won by Daniel V.D. Berg, I believe.
Billy, why don't you just do names and factions and not worry about the list, since we have no time?
Okay. Orcs, that feels like it was pulled out of the old times because it had a bunch of buggies and cans. Rim Out, which is just a phenomenal name. I'm not sure if it's an actual one, but it's phenomenal. Dark Angels, this one was Inner Circle, so 20 Terminators and 10 bikes. More bikes, more HQs. Martin Vander Most, the most of Vanders. Martin brought Kronos, Carnifexes, and Exocrines. And Aryan Feltman in 4th place with Sisters. Superstock Bloody Rose list with 3 Helverins. And then finally, the Winter is Coming in Sodermanlands, Sweden. 18 players.
Winter is already here, folks.
Well, in Sweden, I think it's always there. 18 players. Alex Ryden won it with Inari. very similar to what Colin said earlier. Bunch of bikes between Shroud Runners, Shining Spears, and Vipers. No troops, but he did have a unit of Cabalites to do stuff. Votan, second place. This looks like someone who bought a bunch of boxes and put it on the table. 3 units of the Devastator kind of guys, three units of the Warrior kind of guys, 5 bikes, 8 Terminators, 1 Cowl. And then finally, Jacob Holmstrom, Tyranids Behemoth. This guy brought 29 Gene Stealers in Behemoth. 2 Maleceptors, a Moloch, a Tyrannifex, 2 Hive Tyrants, various assorted stuff.
Behemoth is the extra strength, so that's
okay. So 29 Gene Stealers actually makes some sense there.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is everything that happened this week that's worth knowing about. Nothing else is worth knowing about.
Thanks, everybody. He's Billy, and I'm Colin, because someone has to be. We really appreciate you guys. We'll be back next week to talk more Ark of Omens. Tune in tonight at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern, midnight in London. Sorry. And it's going to be the return. Well, it's not the return, but the next episode of Best in Faction will be on our YouTube.
Oh, nice.
And we played a whole weekend of Ark, and we're going to talk through our games like it was a tournament. So it should be a great deal of fun. For those that haven't heard us do game analysis before, it's the reason that people know who we are. So that and Charity Hammer. Thank you, everybody. Charity Hammer dates are being officially announced this week, so keep an eye out on that. He's Billy. I'm Colin, because someone has to be, and we love doing this, and we'll be back next week. For the show that's neither grim nor dark, we're out. Bye, guys.
We'll have more sleep then, too.
Maybe. Bye.
I will. Okay.